From Interior Alaska's most trusted news source, this is the Fbx Evening News.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. Our top story, Flint Hills Resources Alaska announced today that it would cease crude oil processing at its North Pole refinery in the next few months.
The extraction unit at the refinery will be shut down on May 1st, 2014, ending gasoline production. Crude unit number 2 will shut down no later than June 1st, 2014, ending production of jet fuel and all other refined products. The company will continue to market fuels through its terminals in Anchorage and Fairbanks. The supply for those terminals will come from another source.
We'll shut down gasoline production May 1 and the rest of our production of jet fuel and heating fuel by June 1. We'll convert to a terminal-only operation where we bring product in from other sources by rail and by truck and distribute it through our truck rack here in the Fairbanks area to supply fuel needs locally.
Senator Lisa Murkowski said the Flint Hills closure is a major blow to our state, particularly the economies of Fairbanks and North Pole. Congressman Don Young said that at a time when we should be encouraging expanded production of our resources, we see companies like Flint Hills shuttering their operations because of diminished supplies and overregulation. Now, North Pole Mayor Bryce Ward said he was extremely troubled and disappointed that increased cost and regulation has caused Flint Hills to close their doors to business in Interior Alaska. He blamed the cost of the sulfalane cleanup and said it was a double whammy after the challenges faced in keeping the F-16s at Eielson. Now, we will have more on the Flint Hills announcement tomorrow.
A 4-car collision left University Avenue closed down to traffic this afternoon. Alaska State Troopers responded to the accident on the corner of University and Goldizon at around 1 p.m. According to witnesses at the scene, the icy roads paired with high speeds contributed to the accident in what they say was a chain reaction. Troopers were able to direct limited traffic through a single lane on the road until the debris was cleaned from the street. One of the cars was completely damaged and one resident was taken to the hospital for treatment of their injuries.
Slick, the drivers were driving a little too fast. It caused one vehicle to collide with another and chain reaction hit 4 vehicles. To my knowledge at this time, everybody was okay. We did have one person be transported to Fairbanks Memorial Hospital for treatment for head injuries. I'm not sure of the full extent, but it didn't sound like life-threatening.
Last month, a group of prominent citizens, including the borough mayor, traveled to Luke Air Force Base in Arizona to meet with Air Force officials. The subject was the relocation of 2 squadrons of F-35 fighters. Today at the weekly Chamber of Commerce luncheon, Borough Mayor Luke Hopkins made the announcement that the talks evidently were successful and that he had been alerted to the fact that the U.S. Air Force would make an announcement by the 25th of February of which cities would be on the short list for acquiring the F-35s. The mayor says the potential for the economy of Fairbanks is enormous if Fairbanks is selected as the new base for the fighters.
It will be a lot more families, a lot more military here at Eielson Air Force Base and the support. But also we'll see Lockheed Martin coming in, as if you look at Luke Air Force Base, Lockheed Martin will be the partner there when the F-35s arrive there.
The military is one of the Chamber's top priorities. We're very excited to hear about Mayor Hopkins' announcement today regarding the F-35s. We're proud to be part of that effort. The Chamber's committed to doing what we can to move this effort forward and bring the F-35s to Fairbanks.
Now, the mayor went on to emphasize that the move would not be until 2017, as many repairs and new buildings would have to be in place before the arrival of the squadrons.
All right, when we come back, the State Department of Transportation has announced the Richardson Highway near Valdez will open tomorrow afternoon.
Also, a bill allowing village public safety officers the option of carrying a firearm was moved forward by a House committee. Those stories are next. Stay with us.
And welcome back. State Senate Finance Committee co-chair Kevin Meyer says he believes there is support on the panel to advance a proposed constitutional amendment on education. Senate Joint Resolution 9 would do away with a provision in the state constitution prohibiting use of public funds for the direct benefit of private and religious schools. Supporters say it would allow for more choice in where parents send their schools. Opponents, including Representative Scott Kawasaki of Fairbanks, fear it could take needed resources away from the public school system.
You know, that just can't stand, especially when the school boards across the state have been saying that they're expecting massive teacher layoffs. You know, I think we need to have rather than a program of vouchers that really doesn't have a track record of working. We should be talking about educational opportunities that actually do work.
A Buckland man who shot a VPSO has been sentenced to 28.5 years in prison for attempted murder. 40-year-old Gary Ballett was traveling to the dry village of Buckland with a boat of alcohol on July 26th of 2013. According to Alaska State Troopers, VPSO Lauren Geary met the boat and was shot by Ballett. After a 6-hour sentencing hearing yesterday, Judge Rotman sentenced Ballett to almost 30 years in prison, along with time for an assault count and a count of alcohol importation. Ballett pled guilty to the counts in September of 2013.
Meanwhile, a bill allowing village public safety officers the option of carrying a firearm was moved forward by a House committee. Representative Bryce Edgman, a Democrat from Dillingham, says he and his staff reviewed the bill after public testimony last week and found the training process for VPSOs covered under his bill is more than adequate. Some had questioned if the state would be liable if an officer used deadly force, but Edgman says the bill addresses that issue. Within the last 2 years, one village public safety officer has been shot to death and another wounded in separate attacks. The bill now goes to the House State Affairs Committee.
A Fairbanks man is in custody and has pled not guilty to third-degree assault and charges related to the shooting of a teenage girl. Edward Guinness appeared for the first time in the case in a Fairbanks courtroom after appearing telephonically 2 weeks ago and then not showing up at all to his arraignment last week. A warrant was issued for his arrest and he remains in custody. Guinness is charged with shooting now 19-year-old Teal Diaz in the head. She was left with life-altering injuries after the incident. Diaz's family has been outspoken about the degree of the charges, arguing that an attempted murder charge would be more appropriate. Trial in the case is scheduled for April.
Officials with the Alaska Department of Transportation Northern Region say the Richardson Highway in Valdez will be reopening tomorrow. The highway between miles 12 to 18 in the Keystone Canyon has been closed for over a week after a series of avalanches left them buried feet deep in snow. Crews have been working on clearing the roads and testing for safety and stability of the ground underneath the roads since early Friday morning. No damage was found on the roadways under the nearly 10,000 cubic yards of snow that fell, damaging the river and creating a lake across the highway.
Crews had been performing stability tests to test how stable the road was after all of the snow falling from the avalanches. And testing indicated that the roadway was stable and able to sustain vehicles and cargo. So while we are monitoring for further damage right now, we haven't seen any damage to the roadway.
Today is World Cancer Day, and there's a new warning from the World Health Organization. News Center 11's Monty Bowen has details now in this week's health report.
Within 2 decades, the World Health Organization predicts new cancer cases could rise from an estimated 14 million in 2012 to 22 million a year. Developing countries will be disproportionately hit. But health leaders say even wealthier countries will struggle with skyrocketing treatment costs. The WHO urges more commitment to prevention and early detection. On the other side of the coin, in this country, some say there is too much testing too often. For one man, a test caused a year's worth of worry that some medical professionals say wasn't necessary.
I spent that whole year between the first biopsy and the second biopsy preparing to die. I wasn't enjoying living. I was scared of the possibility that I might have cancer and that I would die.
The organs most tested for cancer are the thyroid, breast, prostate, and lung. The American Cancer Society says some can be monitored for changes instead of going ahead with immediate treatments.
Whenever something is called carcinoma or cancer, people immediately want to act. And the reality is we should be watching them as opposed to aggressively treating them.
Monty Bowen, News Center 11.
The Health Report is brought to you by the Ear, Nose, and Throat Clinic, located in the Medical Dental Arts Building. Call 456-7768.
All right, Daryl, well, Joe Cook is next. Big news from the Yukon Quest, and the Nana Corner features a player who's had a nice comeback this season.
That sounds good. Joe is next with sports. Stay with us.
Welcome back, Interior Alaska. It's Tuesday Sports Time. Last evening, Allie Zirkle didn't need a sprint to win the Yukon 300. She won with plenty of time. Zirkle and her 11 dogs cruised into Central around 7:30 for first place, not looking over their shoulders or ahead to catch someone. Last year, Zirkle lost by only 8 seconds. Chase Tingle, who came in second, he came in just after 9 p.m. He and Zirkle left Circle about the same time, but he went back to drop 2 dogs, so that probably cost him. Heidi Sutter, the early leader in the race, came in third. Now for the Yukon Quest standings. As of airtime today, Brent Sass is the lead dog, followed by Alan Moore and Hugh Neff. Cody Straith and David Dalton complete the top 5. Last evening, Mike Ellis of Fairbanks scratched for the well-being of his dogs at Circle, and Jerry Johnson was docked an 8-hour penalty for using a replacement sled after his original one was damaged from Central to Circle. He'll have to be in Dawson for 44 hours. The mandatory staying time in Dawson is 36. 15 mushers remain in the race. In today's Nanook Corner, we bring you a player profile on one of the Nanook hockey players who's contributing after returning from an injury that's kept him out most of the year. Here's more. Jared Larson, the Apple Valley, Minnesota native, is in his first season as a Nanook. The redshirt junior transfer is a former Ice Dog and led the 2009 team to the Robinson Cup final. But this year, he endured his first major injury. Back on October 25th during the Mercyhurst series, he tore his MCL.
I knew I did something to my knee right away. I felt it. I tried getting up and I couldn't. I felt like my knee was going the opposite way of what my toes were doing.
Team doctors and trainers gave him 6 to 12 weeks to come back. Larson admits it was difficult getting through his first rehab, but his team was there for him.
It was tough to watch them go on the road and play. You know, I had to watch from home on my computer, plugged into my TV, so that was tough, but all the guys were very supportive.
Larson returned to the ice on January 4th. He has 8 points so far, but he has 6 points in his last 5 games, including his first 2-goal game against the Chargers last weekend.
I think putting the puck in the net has really given me some confidence back in my game. First couple of games back was tough, not really producing much, you know, just coming back from injury. But now I feel pretty good about my game, and hopefully we can keep some wins going together.
Nanook Corner, brought to you by Sports Medicine Fairbanks.
Sticking with UAF sports, the basketball team split 2 games over the weekend. The women's team snapped their 5-game losing streak in historic fashion after a Central Washington bucket here to start the game. The Nanooks answered with a 14-0 run and never trailed after that. Jordan Wilson led 5 Nooks in double figures with 16 points on 8 of 11 shooting in 19 minutes. The Nanooks worked inside and outside, outscoring the Wildcats in the paint by 24 and going 8 for 16 from deep. UAF wins 86-66 over Central, the biggest win for UAF since 2005. The men's team, however, lost to the GNAC's last place team, Simon Fraser, 70-60 on Saturday. The game had 12 lead changes and 8 ties, but the Clan closed the game out with a 12-3 run to hold off the Nooks. Singo Nyago had a game-high 15 points for the Clan. Andrew Kelly led UAF with 14 points on 6 of 7 shooting. UAF will host Montana State Billings and number 19 Seattle Pacific this week. Lots of prep sports over the weekend. Let's go back to the Big Dipper, where the Greatland Conference regular season title was up for grabs as Houston and Hutch both came in undefeated in conference. It was all Houston for much of the game. They had a 4-1 lead going into the third. Jonathan Lovelace scored 4 goals in this one. He had a hat trick by the end of the second period, but Elijah Barrios led a late rally for Hutch, scoring 1 of his 2 goals to cut the deficit in half. Kevin Steffi made it a 4-3 game with less than 2 minutes left, but Brad 14 scores the crucial empty net goal in the final minute, and Houston wins the Greatland Conference 6-3 over Hutch. In high school basketball, it was the West Valley Wolfpack and the Monroe Rams rematch at Boileau Hall. They met earlier in Anchorage in the Diamond Prep shootout title game. Scooter Bynum, though, he scored 9 of his 14 points in the first quarter. Tyrese Washington, he scored all of his 8 in the second, and the Wolfpack trailed just 27-21 at the break. West Valley pushed the Rams, trailing just 35-39 with 5 minutes to go using their patented 1-3-1 zone. The Rams struggled, shooting 4 of 23 from 3, but Jalen McCullough scored 10 of his 14 in the second half to lead the Rams to a 47-36 win, their first win by single digits all season. The girls' game was tight too. Monroe played with house money and gave the Wolfpack all they had. The score was tied 13-13 at the half. Andy Clark led the Rams with 8 points. The Hadukovic sisters, Maya and Sarah, both had 6, but in the second half, Ruthie Hebert scored 12 of her game-high 19 points in the second half. Carly Marquez, she had 8, and West Valley escapes Boileau Hall with the 39-30 win. Also in weekend high school basketball, Delta swept Houston with the boys winning 58-54 behind Martise Blankenship's 21 points. Jess Reeder led the Huskies with the 20 points in a 50-37 win. At the Barrow Whaler Invitational, the Hutchinson girls team finished 2-1 with the 45-30 win over Homer. Kiana Edwards and Ellie Veazey were all tournament picks. The boys went 0-3, losing to Homer 47-34, but Michael Benson and Morgan John made the all-tournament team for Hutch. And that's a wrap for sports tonight. Your full weather forecast is coming up next, and we'll catch you next time.
Hey everyone, welcome back into the Fairbanks Evening News. It's time once again to take a look at the weather. Mike Schultz with you. A beautiful day across the interior, lots of sunshine. We are looking at colder temperatures on the horizon. In fact, over the weekend we could drop down to 20-25 below overnight, so we'll tell you more about that in just a little bit. Tonight's photograph taken outside the Fairbanks area. In fact, all the way down to Juneau. Thelma Fields was down there. You had a chance to get a shot of some low clouds hanging around the Juneau Harbor. Again, if you have a photograph to share, by all means, send to photos at ktvf11.com. What's going on at the airport? It's 1 degree above after a high of 9 above today. The low last night, 11 below. Record high, 56, actually 42 in 1941, but 56 below in 1947 for the record low. Sunrise and sunset, 7 hours, 19 minutes, a gain of 7 minutes from yesterday. Satellite and radar showing a little more interesting weather going on the west coast right now. But again, the Alaska Range is protecting Fairbanks from any kind of cloud movement. But we are looking at breaking down tomorrow, allowing some more clouds to come in from the north as the cold air comes in also. Across the rest of the state today, not a whole lot to talk about. There are some showers around the Bethel area and some light snow in the Nome area. Other than that, clear to partly cloudy skies everywhere you look. Lower 48 weather. Again, we're talking about a little bit of activity moving across the Gulf Coast states. Other than that, lots of cloudy skies to partly cloudy skies out to the west. On the satellite and radar, you can see another big, interesting weather maker developing across the Central Plains. This is bringing freezing rain to many areas from Arkansas all the way into the Pennsylvania area. That's going to continue to move very slowly and bring a lot of interesting weather with it. As you can see tonight, major travel disruptions expected with snow in a band right from here, and then of course freezing rain down to the south. It's all because of the jet stream, again, moving from west to east, pulling all that cold air in, and then running it across the western half to the eastern half of the country, and that in turn mixing with the warmer temperatures at the lower levels. Well, back to Alaska for tomorrow in the northern sections, fog and flurries for Barrow and Nome. Snow showers expected in the Fort Yukon area. Here in the interior, we'll see clouds increasing throughout the day with some snow developing at all 3 locations. Very light snow expected, no real accumulation. Windy conditions down around the Juneau area. Sunny skies at Ketchikan. While over to the southwest, looks like rain for Cold Bay and Kodiak. Mixed rain and snow for Bethel. And over south central regions, we're looking at partly cloudy skies for Anchorage, mostly sunny for Valdez, and partly cloudy skies for Homer. Okay, time once again for our kids' weather. This week we're talking with the kids from Nordale Elementary School. Here's a young lady with a picture for us.
Today I'm going to be showing you a weather picture I drew. This is my weather picture I drew. It is at Summit Lake, Alaska. And here's my cabin, and this is when we had a major snowstorm, and we were there for over a week. There's lots of hills, and it had the...
She's very happy with her picture, and tomorrow night we'll have another young lady here to ask a weather question. Okay, here's your forecast for the remainder of the night. 12 degrees below zero, another cold night with clear skies. Tomorrow's forecast, looking at more clouds with maybe some snow developing by evening. Again, no real accumulation expected, just a little light dusting. And we'll have look at some of that snow continuing to Thursday, then mainly just partly cloudy to cloudy skies the rest of the 5-day period. But look at the overnight lows dropping down to 21 below through the weekend. And daytime highs will also start to cool down a little bit. Still not bad for this time of year as we're looking at overnight lows dropping down below the normal, but daytime highs still right around where they should be.
Again, the weather just continues to be great.
Very good for this time of year. Excellent, yeah.
Yeah, but we haven't seen 21 below in a while. I think we've been a little spoiled this year so far.
I've been a little chilly getting into my car at night, so it's a little interesting like I said, we were spoiled by the warm temperatures,
Yeah.
but now it's getting a little cooler.
A little normal.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thanks, Mike. That will wrap up this edition of the Fairbanks Evening News. As always, we are glad you could join us.
Tonight on NBC Nightly News, bracing for another massive winter storm, more than 100 million Americans in its path. That's coming up next with Brian Williams.
And remember, when you see news in the making or have a story idea, call us at 458-1830.
That's going to do it from all of us here at the News Center. We hope you have a great evening.
Night.